Good morning. How you doing?
Good morning.
Tell us who you are.
I'm Terry Kennedy, Alderman of the 18th Ward, City of St. Louis.
Okay, and what room are we standing in right now?
We're presently in the Kennedy hearing room, which is one of the committee hearing rooms of the St. Louis Board of Aldermen.
And who is it named after?
This name proudly is named after Samuel Kennedy, who was my father.
All right, and tell us, how was he associated with the city of St. Louis?
Well, my father was an alderman for 21 years here in the city of St. Louis, and was well respected by the Board of Aldermen, respected enough to name a room after him. They considered him to be a gentleman, someone who was concerned and open to new ideas, and tried to work problems out with people, to mediate between issues and problems, and to also to keep the community informed. When people would come to the committee hearings, they would always tell the story of how he would stop and explain the process and help people understand how they could avail themselves of the city agencies and city programs, but also help them to understand how the legislative process operated and how they could take advantage and use it for the benefit of the entire city.
So how do you feel today, being that you're the chairperson of the Board of Aldermen?
I'm the chairperson of the Ways and Means Committee.
Okay, so how do you feel, being that you kind of following in your father's footsteps, but yet still you're making your own ways, your own legacies?
Right. Well, it is an honor to be able to do so. You know, my father has some big footsteps in my mind. You know, he wasn't Alderman Kennedy; he was Dad to us.
Okay.
And so, you know, to be here and to be able to continue that legacy is an honor. Now, I can be honest with you, it was not one of my career goals to be in this position.
Mm-hmm.
When he passed in office, he was still in office, he passed in 1988. It was the furthest thing in my mind about running for political office. A group of elders in the community did one of those, come here, young man, we want to talk to you. And I kind of resisted that at first. They finally said, look, come on over here and sit in our front room, come into the kitchen, we need to talk to you.
All right.
And so they asked me to run. They said, we knew your father. We saw you grow up. We consider you to be a good young man. That's how they said it back then, you know. Mm-hmm. And we think it would be good if you ran, that you ran for office, and we would be behind you. That is what ultimately convinced me to run. I got in at the last minute. There were 9 people in the race. We were the last ones on the ballot, and we won. And have been in office since 1989 when they did election.
Wow, that's 25 years.
25 years. So, like I said, it wasn't a career goal to begin with, and certainly my thinking is that I would be here for a term, maybe 2, and move on. But that's not quite the nature of legislative bodies. You know, you don't get seniority unless you have years up under your belt. And that seniority allows you to have access or chairmanship of important committees.
So what do you, so how do you feel that you most impacted the community with the position that you do obtain right now?
What was your question again?
So how do you feel like you've impacted the community with the position that you hold right now?
Well, first of all, the position is primarily a legislative position. Mm-hmm. That means it is about the making of laws and the passing of legislation in relationship to law. Mm-hmm. So I have endeavored to sponsor what I consider to be significant legislation. One, the workforce bill. That particular workforce bill required the city to hire in construction jobs that the city, through the Board of Publics, has let out of $1 million or more, to hire 40% minority participation, to have so many women and so many apprentices, to have so many city residents. That was a significant piece of legislation. Also gotten passed the Civilian Review Board bill that would create a civilian board that would review complaints from citizens alleged issues with police. That is a significant piece of legislation. We did get it passed. I had resolutions passed here at the Board of Aldermen in support of the study that Congress was doing on the effects of slavery in America, and on African Americans in particular. That particular study was called the study of reparations in Congress, and we passed a resolution in support of that. We got a resolution passed here in support of the Million More March. In fact, one of the first cities to get one passed. So there is a number of pieces of legislation. I even got one that I introduced related to the train companies as they come through the city of St. Louis carrying hazardous waste. So just a number of things in terms of legislation like that. Now, I've also worked in the community helping each one of our neighborhoods create a neighborhood plan for the redevelopment of our area that comes from the grassroots instead of on high down to the people, but where the people can organize and do vision work and actually put that into writing. One of the most advanced of those plans is in the Vanderbilt neighborhood, the North Central plan, where we see the new North Sarah development take place.
Okay.
Of additional housing and commercial spaces. Now, we didn't have the money, we had the vision. And it wasn't until Obama that we had the money through the stimulus project. So that we are living proof here on North Sarah in the 18th Ward that the stimulus dollars did work.
All right.
Brand new housing development. So those are the types of things. But even greater than that, what we're trying to do is to help people to become involved in their government. You know, it's not just about the legislation or even the development, but helping people to realize that they can participate and that their voices can make a difference, that they can have access. And I believe I've helped our community to do so.
So tell us also, I know you were speaking yesterday of your father's history and how you all even got here to St. Louis, and you're talking about the riots in East St. Louis. So give us a little history about that.
Well, you know, my father was a survivor of the East St. Louis race riot. My father was born in 1910. The East St. Louis race riot, which has been chronicled as one of the worst race riots in the history of the United States, happened in 1917. The aluminum ore company in East St. Louis began to hire black workers when there was a strike. This did not sit well with the white workers at the aluminum ore company. This broke out in a riot in what they called the Bottoms. That was the black section of East St. Louis. At that time, East St. Louis was predominantly Caucasian, not predominantly black. This riot broke out on July 1st, and they said it was a horrible affair. People running through the streets, firebombing people's homes, shooting at black families, and that's exactly what happened to my father. His mother and their other 9 children were there in the house, and uncle was there also. The house was firebombed. They threw torches and other flammable liquids into the house, set it on fire, and then shot at them as they came out. My grandmother, then, her name was Catherine Horn, then took her children. Some of them were old enough to help to pick up the smaller ones. And they ran out the back and went out some of the windows. She then tried to get them to St. Louis. The St. Louis Police Department had blocked the bridge and would not allow the refugees from the riot into St. Louis. So she built a raft and took her children across the river from East St. Louis to St. Louis. And that's how our family got here. From there, within 6 months she died. And that basically left the children out on the street. Because many of the others, her other brothers and sisters, some of them had disappeared from the riot. They didn't know where they went to, or even found the bodies. Those that were left were still trying to reconstruct their lives, so it was very difficult. And this would have been in July of 1917, July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. In October of that year, Du Bois held a major rally in Harlem, New York, to bring attention to what he considered to be the atrocities in East St. Louis and several other places, and then visited St. Louis and helped establish an urban league to give relief to the survivors of the East St. Louis race riot.
All right. Well, what I want to do, I want to continue this. Okay. And once again, this is Alderman Kennedy, and we're standing here in the Kennedy Hearing Room. And this is Erica Brooks. Today is July the 3rd, 2014.